Welcome to the Salt Strong Podcast, disrupting fishing entertainment as you know it. Prepare to laugh. Prepare to get to know fishing legends in a whole new and unfiltered way. And on occasion, you might even learn a thing or two about fishing. Here's your host, Joe Simons. Like diamonds.
Turn off the DVR. Hey everybody, Joe Simons, like diamonds, back again with Salt Strong Unchurched. Pumped to be here with you. A very, very important, timely message, I think, for a lot of you. I mean, I would pray before every one of these episodes that this message hits the right person or people that need to hear it. I know there's some that do, because I've been receiving a ton of messages that tie in with what I'm about to share here today about turning off the DVR. And if you don't know what a DVR is, it is it used to be something that was like a physical thing, like a recorder that you could record TV shows or anything on the TV to watch it later. Now, of course, it's built into all these TVs, and you essentially could record something like right now in the present that you're not there. You could even set it to record, hey, I want to record this show that's coming on live or a sports game, whatever. It records it. And then in the future, you can go back and watch something that already happened. Essentially, it's old news, right? And that's part of the problem with our minds. And I know, because I did this for a long time, and I still struggle with it today, is we let things that happened in our past dictate and give us fear and anxiety about the present and even into the future, right? And that's essentially when I was struggling with all that anxiety and those daily anxiety attacks. What my mind was doing was really, really good at using a DVR and recording all these past episodes. And when I had an attack, and hey, it happened here, and it's probably going to happen again. And so I start telling my mind the same thing, like, oh my gosh, well, it happened 2 years ago in this same sort of place, and it's probably going to happen again. And we start building up all this fear and all this anxiety over something that hasn't even happened yet, all because it happened in the past. And that is that, I mean, it can be debilitating. I mean, I had pretty bad anxiety. There's people that have it a whole lot worse than I did. And I mean, it literally can take you down a lot of really, really, really dangerous paths and depression and all kinds of stuff, right? Because the mind is so powerful. The mind is more powerful than any DVR that's ever been made. The good news is we can control our mind. We can start feeding our mind different things. We can turn off our mind's DVR, if you will. Doesn't happen overnight usually, but it certainly can happen. I mean, I'm proof of it. I got over, what was essentially debilitating anxiety that I was dealing with every single day of my life. Literally, missed friends' weddings, missed one of my best friends' weddings in particular that I was supposed to show up, and I had so much anxiety. I essentially tricked my mind into thinking I was like deathly sick, and there was literally nothing wrong with me. But I had so much anxiety about the past because I had had a big panic attack at a wedding in a similar place in Atlanta, Georgia. And so my mind is going back in time, right? Living in the past, something that happened years ago, and telling my mind that, oh, it's going to happen again in the future. And oh, what a shame that I missed this amazing wedding. I still feel guilty about that to this day. And that was a long time ago. And that's just one of many things I missed out on in life, because the DVR in my mind was playing old scenes that honestly did not matter whatsoever. And it wasn't until I started just telling my mind, hey, be quiet. I'm not listening to you. I'm focusing on the present, not the past. And for a lot of you that have listened for a while and maybe even read my book, Fishing for Happiness, you know that I went on this really kind of like a 5-year journey to just to find more fulfillment in life, to find more happiness. I was at kind of a low time in life where I was having trouble finding purpose and waking up just like, oh, cool. Yeah, I got a job. It's paying the bills. But besides that, I was working crazy hours, drinking too much, traveling way too much, like for business travel, going back and forth from Atlanta to Texas every week. And I just found myself in this rut of, hey, God, is this really all life's about? Like, it just seemed like this endless cycle of doing the same things over and over again, constantly being stressed, constantly being in meetings, constantly being on phone calls, constantly being in an airplane, never seeing my wife. And I'm like, there's got to be more to life than this. And so I went on this journey. It didn't start this way. It ended up turning into it, but it took 5 years, and I just started reading some sort of book every week. That was my goal. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to cut TV out, ironically. And so this is around the time that DVR was getting big. I still, to this date, no lie, I've never once used DVR in my entire life. And I think a lot of it goes back to this kind of journey I was on where I cut TV out of my life completely, done. No sports, nothing. Now, occasionally, if I was, invited to a Super Bowl party, I'd watch that. But meaning I had no TV. There was nothing going on in my life that revolved around TV or sports or anything. I just cut that time out and gave it to reading. And I read some sort of self-help book, or self-improvement book is maybe a better way to say it. And sometimes it was on faith. Sometimes it was on finance. Sometimes it was on relationships. Sometimes just being happy. A lot of the books, probably the biggest chunk was on just finding happiness and fulfillment. And the one thing, there's a couple things, and I document all this in my book, Fishing for Happiness. But one thing that was constant in every one of the books about finding happiness and fulfillment is, guess what? It was all about being just laser focused about living in the present. It's the one thing we can control. The past is too late, right? We can't change that. The future hasn't happened yet. So, it makes so much logical sense, yet so few of us do that consistently. And I'm guilty as well. Even right now, there's things come up in my life and I think about, hey, what happened in the past? And yes, we need to use some of the things in the past to help us make good decisions in the present and even going into the future, right? There's certain things we might want to avoid, but there's also some things that our mind is doing this whole DVR trick and tricking us into not making the best decisions because of fear-based things, or things that maybe gave us anxiety or maybe made us uncomfortable, but things that we really need to be facing and doing to grow as people and to grow closer to God. And so all of these books have the same common theme is, hey, live in the present. It is the only thing that matters. If you can't be present and living now, you're probably going to have a miserable future. You certainly can't change the past. And I would challenge you to work on that for sure. And here's why in particular this episode came up. I've talked about this anxiety video because it just keeps coming up over and over again. It's got, 600 or 700,000 views now. I feel like just a couple months ago, it was like at 300 or 400,000. It just keeps growing. And what that tells me is a couple things. One, there's a lot of people suffering with anxiety out there. There's more and more people that are just feeling anxious from the economy, right? None of us, I don't think any of us, no matter how much money you make, feel just overly rich right now, right? It feels like everything costs so much money to do anything. And I'm not talking about just filling up your car or your truck with gas. It just seems like everything costs so much money right now, even just simple repairs around the house and stuff. I was like, how can this cost this much money? I won't even go there with any politics and stuff, but there's just a lot, and maybe it's just because in an election year, it just feels like there's so many things happening and maybe potential wars out here and stuff going on in Israel. And just there's a lot of things that we could potentially be anxious about, right? And we've got a lot of our youth, whether it's your kids or your grandkids or your friends' kids, going through just stuff I don't feel like we went through at the same age. So many of these younger kids, and I'm talking like not even in high school yet, are dealing with depression and suicide and anxiety and taking anxiety pills. Like I never even heard about that when I was in 6th or 7th grade, or even lower in some cases. I've been hearing about some 3rd and 4th graders are like taking anxiety pills and dealing with this massive anxiety. Like, man, that never even occurred to me at that young of age. And so all of that also can cause a lot of anxiety and fear. And knowing what I know, I there's not many things I can say I'm an expert in, but with anxiety, I, I I'm I can say I'm an expert dealing with that personally. There's a lot of doctors who have studied it and gone to school for it. But as I talk to doctors, and if you've dealt with anxiety attacks like I have, or a true panic attack, and you're talking to a doctor that never has experienced it, they do not know what it feels like. No matter how much they've studied, they do not have that emotional feeling of what it does to your body, and how you feel like you're dying, and everything else just shuts down around you. Nothing matters except this just fight or flight feeling. And I felt that so many times. I mean, it was pretty much every single day for over a decade. And I will say that the number one cause of that, and the only way to get out of it, is to turn off that DVR in your head. And let me just give you a real life example. So ironically, we stopped watching TV completely, for over 5 years, really. And it for quite some time had no TV in the house. At some point, we had one just to have a DVD player, not DVR. We had a DVD player that was hooked up, but we had no cable. There was nothing there. It was just an old school DVD player just for the kids to watch, Disney movies and stuff like that. And here's the irony. That TV, you get like the basic cable if you just, plug the thing in and can tie into any little normal cable TV. And there's TVs like that, right? That have nothing else on them. And the irony is, guess what you can do? You can watch, I don't know, 6 or 7, 12 channels, whatever it is, and you can only watch what's being programmed live, or at least being programmed on that TV at that given time. That's it. That's living in the present. You can't fast forward. You can't go see stuff that hasn't happened yet. And in the stuff in the past, it's already been done. Like those were old school TVs, right? And if you're with me and you were born, 1980 or younger, you know what this is, because that's all we had. And ironically, today's age, we have all this anxiety and all this fear and all this crazy stuff happening. And guess what today's TVs look like, right? My kids will never know what I explained about you only options were 12 or even 30 things, and your only options were what was there right now playing on that TV at that given instant. The second you missed it, it was gone. There's no rewinding. There's no fast forwarding. We're literally living in the present. Yet today, go to even YouTube TV or Amazon Prime TV or whatever it is, Netflix, you can fast forward, you can rewind. The second you get to your main dashboard, and I'm just explaining YouTube TV because that's what we have today. We have two TVs in the house now, but started with one, and all we have is YouTube TV. Guess what happens when you log in and see that main dashboard? It's all this stuff. It's endless, right? And it's broken out by sports. It's broken out by comedy. It's broken out by kids and family stuff. It's movies. Do you want TV shows? It is endless. It almost gives you a little bit of anxiety, like, oh my gosh, what do I watch? And the craziest part is when my kids get in there, and if you've got kids, you know what I'm talking about. And they're like, oh, there's just nothing to watch. There's nothing to watch. Like we had 12 things on our old Zenith tube TV, right? And it was a hard knob dial. You know what I'm talking about? I think it was 12 opportunities. And we had little bunny ears, and like there was 12 things you could watch, and it was real time. It was living in the present. You guys see what I'm saying here? So ironic now, and we have all these kids with all these anxiety issues and all this stuff happening, and they're literally living in a DVR world, right? I mean, to get on YouTube TV that has, I don't know that you could ever watch everything on there, and for someone to say, oh, there's just nothing there. And you can fast forward, you can rewind, you can go back in the past, you can go into the future. I guess you can't go in the future, but you can go mostly in the past, some in the present if you want to watch a live sports show. But even then, you can fast forward and rewind during that show once you've gone back in time. The whole thing is essentially one massive DVR to go see anything that you want in the past. And so I would challenge you to think and act and train your brain to be more like the old school tube TV that had an old boring knob that played stuff that was real time in the present. The more that you can be in the present, the less the past is going to impact you and the less the future is going to give you anxiety, right? Because the future only gives you anxiety because of things that happened in your past. Right. And that was a big aha moment for me. I was like, all right, nothing in this future is going to scare me. Right. It's the reason that young kids don't get anxiety. Like, kids 4 and under don't get anxiety about the future because they haven't experienced anything would make them get anxiety about that. They're excited and they're adventurous and they're willing to I want to learn more and I want to see what's behind this door and I want to go exploring over here, right? I mean, what do little 2 and 3 year olds do? They're just eyes wide open. They're trying to open up every little cabinet, every little crevice. They want to explore everything. They're in adventure mode and they're having fun. And we need to get back to that as adults, right? That adventure mode of just eyes wide open and let's be excited. And the difference is, one of the biggest differences, these young kids don't have this past. They are living in the present. They are 100% laser focused on everything around them. Watch them. I mean, young kids, we can learn so much from them. They're so in the present. They're so happy. They're smiling. They're so excited to explore everything. And I feel like as adults, sometimes we numb a lot of that stuff out. Like, oh yeah, I already seen that. We already know it's there. And even worse, we'll let our heads get this DVR syndrome where we start going back in time and saying, oh yeah, well, then I screwed up that relationship, or I screwed up that job, or I lost money here. Whatever it is that we're telling ourselves, or hey, I had an anxiety attack in this place, it'll probably happen again. And then we start letting that impact our present and even into our future. And what a shame. I say that because I felt that. And I did that so many times looking back, like, man, what a shame that I let all these amazing experiences slip through my fingers, right? They were right there for me. Like, God was putting me in these situations he wanted to be in. And I was backing away and making excuses and finding ways to kind of escape out of it, all because of stuff that had happened in my past. I was letting my mind go back into this whole DVR mode and put negative thoughts in my head. So I hope this makes sense. I hope you can apply it in your life. Think about your brain as that old school TV. That old school TV was still very powerful, right? When those old school tube TVs came out, that was new age. That was crazy technology that you could even have 12 channels playing stuff that were being either recorded live like the news or some show that had already been made that was coming on exactly when the TV guide said it would come on, right? I mean, that's living in the present. Nowadays, all of us, our whole lives are all about this DVR kind of mode where everything's out there for us. We can consume anything that happened in the past. We can fast forward, rewind, watch it over again. I'm telling you, it's detrimental. And so many of the messages I get, it seems like now on a daily basis about anxiety and about things that they've heard on Unchurched, most of it stems, like most of the issues stem from something in their past that they can't get out of their head, or that they're having trouble getting out of their head at least, or that it's impacting how they're thinking about the present or even the future. And as soon as you can start telling your mind just to shut up and no, I'm not giving you the rewind DVR button anymore, we are going to live in the present. I'm telling you, everything will start changing. Love you guys. Hope this helps. If you have anything I can help out with, any prayers, any specific questions on any of this stuff, I would love to help, or at least point you in the right direction if I can't. My email is Joe, Joe @saltstrong.com. And I hope you have an amazing day, an amazing week, and live in the present. Turn off that DVR in your head. 'Cause fishing, it's in my soul.